Hello dudes and lady dudes. Today's topic is one that we did last year in the first iteration of the channel, but rather than carry it over like all the other videos, because they're between 20 and 25 minutes and I'm trying to keep it 10 kind of max, and that is the idea that the government is actually pro-veteran suicide. It actually likes to cultivate and fester a condition where veterans end up committing suicide. And I will extend this to law enforcement personnel, retired. Not as much to them because they're not as young usually when they retire as military personnel. But why? Why would the government do this? Well, kind of going back to the Back the Blue video we did, where when the government is coming to do sweeping control, you know, they want to drive that wedge between civilian and the blue, the shield, whatever you want to call it, the police, law enforcement, because they are equipped and trained fighting force in a sense. Well, veterans are trained as well. They're not necessarily as equipped because they're no longer, you know, in the military, but they actually have training. They have more extensive training, you know, than maybe perhaps a SWAT member of SWAT, than your average law enforcement. And so when they come here and they retire and they come back home, that to make it that if they're kind of on the edge, if you can kind of push them so that they'll go and commit suicide, it actually it helps solidify your control, because the people who would be the first to leave are the first that are dying. I mean, they're dying before you even have to do it. The U.S. Has lost more people from suicide from coming home from the Iraq-Afghanistan conflict than actually died fighting. I think it's about every 3 years they have as many lost to suicide as actually more than the entire 15 years or so that they were there. 22, someone on Facebook let me know. Annie, thank you. But that's how many, the exact number, or approximate number, that commit suicide in the U.S. every day. Alright, so that's, you know, 6,500 to 7,000 a year. That's a staggering amount, and you might say, well, that's, I mean, compared to as a whole, but for how many who actually serve, it is huge. And it's you know, you hear politicians on all sides say, oh, we need to do something for them, but no one really does. I mean, Trump did loosen restrictions on like the VA hospital and veterans being able to seek kind of third-party hospitals. I don't know what's the whole deal there, because I might be a waiting process or something, because there's still people dying waiting for care at the VA hospital, killing themselves because they're not getting care. But if they really wanted to do it, they could do it. I mean, look how much money. I remember posts being shared in Canada where that the average asylum seeker in Canada gets $1,200 more a month than a veteran, as far as grants. And then in their first year, they actually get even more than that. So it's almost like $2,000 more a month. That's huge. Why would we be bringing them and, you know, giving them money when this is someone who's literally put on a uniform and said, I will serve you, I will do things for you. Why can't we take care of them? Well, we could, but the government chooses not to. Because when a time comes, they want as few trained fighters in the population as possible. Don't believe me? Going back to law enforcement, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it all kind of blends together around that time. But we had the Greyhound bus incident here in Manitoba. It reached my friends in the U.S., so it was a big story where a man just cut off the head of a guy sleeping on the Greyhound bus for no reason. The first officer who came in, you know, dealt with the situation. He ended up killing himself years later. And I remember working security at the time, waiting at the place. They had a newspaper, and I was able to read an article the day after this happened where he took his own life. And some people, paramedics, talking about the hassle getting mental health care was for them, and how it's very similar for police officers. And the big issue here, at least in Manitoba, was the whole, well, they couldn't prove that he got it on the job, that he got the PTSD on the job, that this is the reason why he has mental health issues. They couldn't prove that happens. Think about that, alright? You are the first responder on the bus. The dude is sitting there, he has a head in one hand, and he's chewing on a decapitated body, because that's one thing I remember from the story. He was actually chewing on the guy he just decapitated. And you can't prove that he has some sort of mental issues from that event. That is ridiculous. Do you know what? I don't even care if he had mental issues from that. If the fact that he had mental issues, alright, that he had whatever, and it could be because dad yelled at him too much when he was little, he raised his voice, he beat him, he drank or whatever, or he didn't get enough toys when he was little. I don't care. The fact that he is now a law enforcement official, supposed to be doing this job, and you'll say, well, we can't prove, like, we're not going to take care of your mental health. Just think about that. No, you're just fostering people who are going to snap on the job. Right? And they're going to do something terrible, and then it's going to be all over the news. Oh, maybe that's why. They want these people to freak out and flip out and just post to them bad. They do it on purpose. He can't prove that an EMT who has seen, babies cut in half in an accident got that from the job. That's crap. You can't, say a soldier who was overseas, who watched people burned because of whatever, or walked around the wall and saw children shot, whether by them or someone else, whatever, doesn't matter who shot the children, they had to witness that, they did not want that, but it happened, and that they come home and you say, well, we can't prove that that's the reason why you are like this. That is crap. And then you're going to just throw them out into the world. There's really no... All rehabilitation, reintroducing them to society, that's all volunteer run and non-profit run. That's not government run. No, there's nothing the government coming to say, okay, we trained you, we had to mentally derange you to be able to kill, because humans are not programmed that way. The entire basic training is trying to get you to fire enough bullets that maybe one will hit them. That's why, that's the whole thing. That's why a firing squad only 2 or 3 had bullets in it out of 7, because people know that if there's a bullet for sure in their gun, they're not going to shoot the person that they're executing. This is a mental thing. The Star Wars effect. The Army actually did it. Why the stormtroopers can't hit the rebels, but the rebels are good at stormtroopers. This is a real thing. So we have to break you out of your natural thing. We have to break you as a person. We're going to throw you into just hell for 1.5 to 3 years, and when you come back, we're going to throw you by the wayside. Here's a pittance a month that you can't even rent an apartment in a crappy city, let alone the city where you live, and we're just going to leave you. And meanwhile, we're spending billions of dollars on everything else. No, you can't say that they care, that they don't care. You can't say that there's nothing they can do. There's stuff we can do. There are organizations out there that are doing it. They just simply don't have the funds or the manpower or the reach. Maybe they could do more, but just no one knows about, this VA or this Legion over here, or this program here, our church there, this just group of people who come together and have actually reached out, and this little area of people are good and they're able to reach out, but they just don't have it, and the reach, and their program could help others, but no one knows about them. So this is out there. It is possible, but the government chooses not to. And if you look at the situation, why the government does it, kind of makes sense when you think about it. If it just makes sense. How is the government using this for control? Everything you see, ask yourself, how is the government using this for control? And a lot more stuff makes sense. A lot of stuff you see going on in our world today makes a lot of sense when you realize that the government is trying to get control here. If you don't think the government is trying to get control over you, you're not smart. John has no way to sugarcoat that. That's just the way it is. Anyway, so that's today's thought, today's rant. If you like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that stuff. If you don't like, feed a homeless person, go feed a homeless veteran. If you don't think that the government wants to kill them and you want to actually help them, go. They're everywhere. I mean, you don't have to look hard. If you honestly can't find one, reach out. You're online already. Google search. Yeah, VA, local VA, Canada Legion. Google search it, find them, feed them, and then let me know below how many you fed. That won't even spite me today. That'll show that you're actually you're doing something and you're not just this person. Thanks for watching, and I hope you come back.